Okay, good afternoon and welcome to NABO Orlando PropelHer in-flight training number 4. This is our 4th webinar, and we are looking forward to having an excellent presentation from Victoria Wassinger. She is going to be talking to us about leadership. Victoria is the program director for Entertainment Business Masters of Science and Business Intelligence, as well also a Master's of Science here at Full Sail University. She's been with the university, I can't remember now, but it's been quite a long time.
13 years almost,
So
I think.
that's what I thought. I was going to say like 12, but okay, perfect. 13 years. She's been here. She is a well-respected instructor, an attorney, and we are proud to have her at Full Sail and proud to have her as part of the webinar series. We're going to have her do her presentation, and then afterwards we'll catch you up again on the details of the pitch competition for NAVO, as well as how you can catch these webinars if you haven't been able to catch them since this is our 4th one. So without further ado, I present to you Victoria. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Natalie. Hi, everyone. As she said, my name is Victoria Wassinger. I'll give you I think you've basically heard this already, but I am the program director for the Entertainment Business Masters and Business Intelligence Masters programs at Full Sail. My background is in law. I have an entertainment law practice here in Central Florida as well, where I work with lots of independent filmmakers and just intellectual property holders to help them protect and distribute and exploit their artistic works. So that's a fun extra thing that I do. I also dabble a little in creating my own content. So I always feel imposter syndrome when I say that I'm a filmmaker, but I did produce and write a film that was in 2 different film festivals a couple of years ago. So I will put that out there, and I'm actually working on another feature right now. So it's so great to have all of you here. I really appreciate you joining us. I understand that you're all kind of trying to start your businesses and you're going to be pitching your ideas during this NABO competition. And I just want to commend all of you for your bravery and your perseverance. Showing up is 90% of the battle. So just good for you for being a part of this. So today I'm going to be talking about leadership. And so we're going to start by going into the importance of knowing who you are, because that really is the foundation for a successful business venture. When you are the leader, you have to know yourself. Then I'm going to talk about how important it is also to be an agent of brilliance, meaning how can you help your people shine? Okay, so we'll talk a little bit more about that. And then in line with that is building a really strong team. So before you can help people shine, you have to pick the right people, which is not always an easy task. And then last but not least, we'll discuss strategies for keeping your people engaged, because that's the challenge, especially in these COVID times where you're not always together, in the same place physically. It can be really hard to keep people engaged and motivated. And so there are some things that you can do to kind of help with that. So beginning with knowing yourself, it's so important to just know your own story. Somebody recently told me this quote, and you may have heard it. People don't leave bad jobs, they leave bad leaders, which can be kind of like an ouch statement, I guess. But the idea behind it is that even if the work itself that you're doing isn't your favorite thing, if you have a really great team, a great boss, a great, group of coworkers, that can actually be what causes people to be engaged with their jobs and to stay and do a good job long term. So it's so important, in order to get people to kind of buy into who you are as a leader and to your company, to first have a really strong understanding of, what are you bringing to the table and who are you and why should they connect with your story. When I was in class, I don't get to go to class and lecture as much anymore with students, but I will share that for the 12 years that I was lecturing, the thing that caused students to connect with me the most was when I shared my personal stories about trials and tribulations that I experienced. And it's been the same with, people on who I manage as well. When I actually get a little bit vulnerable and share a little bit about myself and why I even started doing what I'm doing, that's what people tend to hold on to. And it just humanizes you, and it helps you connect on a more personal level with your team. So of course, you have to have boundaries, and it's not like you're going to be able to share every detail of your personal life. And I don't recommend that you do that, actually. But it is important to open up a little enough that people understand that you are a human, and that they understand your story and what caused you to found your business, and why they should keep following you in the wonderful things that you are endeavoring to create. So next here I have, what makes my work meaningful. I like there's a book called The 5 Love Languages. Has anybody heard of this book or read it?
Yes, absolutely.
Awesome, thank you. I love this book for relationships, but also it really translates well for work, surprisingly. So the 5 love languages, the idea is that people express themselves or receive love in very specific ways. And so it could be gifts, it could be words of affirmation, so like good job. It could be physical touch, like getting a hug is what really makes you feel loved. And all of these, so those are 3. Let's see, words of affirmation, quality time is the 4th one, and acts of service is the 5th one. So doing something for somebody is acts of service. Quality time is just, you don't even have to do or say anything, just be there with the person while they're, doing what it is that they're doing. And so while the book was really meant for relationships, it has actually been translated into a more a work setting. So people are also motivated this way at work. So sometimes words of affirmation, telling somebody they did a good job, that is what actually resonates with them. It helps them feel appreciated, and it helps them keep going and want to do the next thing that's going to get them that, attaboy, if you will. Some people are not motivated by that at all. You could say gifts are maybe money, like maybe if you give them a raise, that's really all they respond to, or an extra day off or something like that, some sort of reward for the hard work that they're doing. Quality time. My sister, she says that her love language at work is quality time. She wants a boss that is going to kind of include her in meetings and decision making. So just kind of like, she just wants to be in the room. She just wants to hear what's going on, and she's not going to interfere. She'll help out where she can, but she really appreciates being included, because being aware of what's going on and hearing that information helps her to feel the importance of what her role is at work. So I bring this up because it's so important to take the time, and I'm actually a little bit bleeding into the next slide here. It's important to take the time to know what motivates the people who work for you, and also yourself. So really understand what it is that you bring to the table. How do you express value, and then how do you feel valued by the people who you're working with? And then also learn about your employees. What is their work love language? How can you help them feel appreciated? And we'll go more into that on the next slide. I want to also mention, so we talk here about what scares you about mistakes, and or what could scare you about being wrong. Of course, failure is one of the things that people are most afraid of, particularly when you are starting a brand new business, putting your time and your money, and you're risking so much to start this venture that you're passionate about. I was reading a book called The 80/20 Manager, and it's by Robert. Wait, I might be misquoting. Let me see where I wrote my notes here. Richard Koch is his name. And Richard Koch wrote this book. There's a whole principle, the 80/20 principle. You put 80% of your effort into the top 20% of the whatever it is, the top performers, or the top product that is bringing in your business. The same applies to management. So when I first took my new role, my current role as a program director, I was reading this book to kind of see, okay, how is this going to be different than the last job that I did? And I was a manager previously, but it was very different. Now I have a lot more responsibility. I oversee. There's a lot more that is really on me, and to make sure that everything is running correctly. So I wanted to approach it from a different point of view and make sure that I was doing everything right. And I was so scared to fail, because you want to do a good job, and you don't want to mess up, and you don't want to have this be given an opportunity and then fail at it, right? But in this book, the 80-20 principle, it talks about failing fast. So the idea behind that is, don't be afraid to try things out, especially when you're just starting out. It is better to test things out early and figure out that they do not work right away than to wait until you're much more established and there's a lot more to lose. Similarly, even if you're not not in your business, but just as a leader, failing fast when you're new at a role, people are going to be more forgiving because they know, oh, you're new at this. This is, you're learning still. They're just going to be a lot more understanding if you do something and it doesn't work out, or it doesn't come across the way that maybe you intended. Whereas if you've been in that role for 10 years, or your business has been around for 15 years, and then suddenly you make a big mistake, people are going to think, oh, well, you should have known better by now. You've been in this game for a while. So I thought that was really interesting. I just wanted to share that with you, especially as you're starting out. Failing fast can actually be a really great way to learn where your strengths are quickly and what not to do quickly, so that you can course correct before you have much more to lose. Before I move to the next slide, does anyone have any questions or anything? Okay, then in that case, I'm going to go on to the agent of brilliance. So back to the 5 love languages. After you know what your love language is, it's so important to spend time with your team, all of the people you hire, individually understand what motivates them. You can do this from the first interview through their entire time working for you. So maybe ask a person what motivates them during their interview, but also talk, when you're having your annual reviews with them, or your, if you have periodic performance reviews with them, you can talk to them about, what is going well, and you can, if they don't want to answer what their love language, because not everybody understands the concept or is comfortable with it, you could say, you could actually just test it out with them. You can test out exercising these 5 love languages and then watch how they react and what seems to really resonate with them. I have been doing that with my team. I will test things out. We have something called props at Full Sail, which is where you have the ability to tell people when they're doing a good job, but very publicly, so that it's not just you sending them an email saying, great job. I cannot tell you how much I appreciate you doing what you just did. You actually post it to a university-wide public platform that anybody can see. And it creates also this really nice record of things that they were involved with and the projects that they did, and being recognized by multiple people at the university. That can also help those people eventually later when they want to, maybe for growth opportunities, if they want to apply for growth opportunities, they can show, like, look at all these great things that I have done, and all the people who like me and appreciate my work. And it's also just, a nice thing to look back on when you are doing annual reviews with your employees, because now you have this kind of record of, okay, what were the really outstanding things that you participated in this year that I was so grateful for, that I put in a prop for you. And so obviously not everyone's going to have props like Full Sail does, but you can create a system like that at your job, where maybe it's a monthly newsletter that you recognize, hey, here are the really outstanding performers, or the most traditional is employee of the month, where you get your picture on the wall and you get to be employee of the month. But the idea behind it is making sure that you are recognizing people's strengths and, making them feel appreciated for all of the things and the hard work that they're doing. I want to also share, there was this really great story that I heard the other day, and it was there was a company doing studies on what motivates employees. And they were going around and actually just they were talking to different people in different types of roles. One example was a barista, and he worked at the Four Seasons in Vegas, and he also worked at Caesar's Palace. And he was at the Four Seasons, the person conducting the survey just asked him, because he was so happy. He was it looked like he was enjoying his job. And so he said, do you like working here? And the employee was like, I love working here. Just no, without skipping a beat. I absolutely love it. And he was, it's a service industry. It's a really tough, job. Not everybody would react that way, but he was undoubtedly just really enjoyed his work. And so the follow-up question was, do you mind if I ask, why? Why do you love this job so much? And have there been other jobs like this that you've done that you didn't like? And he said, well, yeah, as a matter of fact, I work here as a barista, but I'm also a barista at Caesar's Palace. And I got to tell you, the biggest difference is here, when my manager comes by, it's always about, what can I do to help you do your job better? What do you need? How can I support you so that you do a good job and that you're happy and that you're, able to complete the tasks that I'm asking you to do? But at the Four Seasons, if my manager's coming by, it's because I got in trouble. The only time they come by is to tell me something that I'm not doing or something that we need to do better. And so it's a very different vibe, and it kills my motivation. It kills my entire, desire to be there. So I thought that was really interesting, and it really lines up well with a study that was done about how, what motivates people more. Is it rewards or punishment? And in that study, they did find that rewards and positive reinforcement is a much more effective way to motivate people than to point out everything they're doing wrong. So I just wanted to share that with you. Sometimes it can be obviously hard because you need to confront people about those hard things that maybe they could improve on. But it's really important that it's not the only thing you talk about with them, and that it's not necessarily the focus all of the time. Because if it becomes the focus, you will start to lose those employees, and they really will start to feel attacked, and as if, well, I can do no right here, so what's the point? And they become detached. They no longer are maybe loyal to your company, and they start looking, for other ways to find happiness and fulfillment, which could mean leaving your company. And when they leave, it's very hard to backfill positions with, if you're wanting to find the really good people. So, okay. Team building can be another really great way to create that, positive reinforcement and a strong culture, right? So we have some examples here. I kind of talked about, we have props, a traditional way to recognize people and demonstrate all the things that they're doing are weekly newsletters, or you could even, if you have regular team meetings. So as you're starting your business, it is a good idea to have scheduled meetings, whether it's once a week, once a month, once every 2 months, whatever that makes sense for you. It is nice to have everyone together, even if it's a virtual Zoom, so that they're hearing the same message from the leader and they have a chance to hear from each other and understand where everyone is in terms of the business structure. It helps them commiserate if something is not going well in more than one department, but it also helps them solve problems and just open up those lines of communication. I'm a huge believer that communication is the key to a successful relationship. And whether that is a professional relationship or a personal relationship, communication is the key. So you can communicate in so many different ways, whether it's in person, virtual, in writing, via a video that you send out. There's just so many ways that you can kind of reinforce the culture that it is you want to grow within your organization. And then, sorry, there was one other thing I wanted to mention. Oh, I think it was related to the building trust. So on the slide, you'll see it says building trust by owning your own mistakes. I am also a strong believer in that, it starts from the top. Okay. And so if you're going around blaming everyone else for anything that went wrong, that doesn't tend to improve the situation. Even if it is somebody else's fault, it just does not, it doesn't motivate the person, and it doesn't usually result in a better outcome the next time. So as the leader, you're ultimately responsible. And I think it's really important to kind of take on that responsibility and recognize, okay, where was the failure on my part here? Maybe I didn't communicate the instructions clearly, and that's why it didn't get done. Or maybe I could have done a better job of highlighting how important the deadline was. So obviously you can still be honest with somebody and say, okay, I need to be able to trust that you're going to follow through. But always look at yourself too and see if there was any part that you played that you can kind of own as well. That also helps to really soften those difficult confrontational conversations that you have with your employees. So they don't just feel like you're attacking them and pointing fingers. If you're also saying, this was a group failure, this was our failure, not your failure. And here's how I'm going to be different next time. And here's how I would like you to be different next time. That can sometimes help just make that conversation a little more back and forth and avoid it getting really defensive. I also want to mention that it starts from the very beginning. So hiring correctly right away is such an important part of creating the right culture and a future success in your business. So here we have pre-planning, really understanding, okay, what are the roles that I need to hire? What's the most important role? So I would take a minute, several minutes to write down, okay, here are all of the positions, the people that I'm going to need to hire to execute my business. And then put them in order of importance and really look at which people are you personally going to be interacting with the most. And as you're hiring them, ask the difficult questions, because I'm going to go back to another saying, a stitch in time saves 9. If you can set the right expectations during the interview about the job, it will solve so many problems after you hire the person, because they will have gone into it understanding clearly what is expected of them and what they should not expect of the job. Sometimes they just need to, even if it's not what they want to hear, they just need to know that that's not on the table. So if somebody comes into a job thinking, oh, I'm going to get raises every 6 months, and you're saying, oh, that's possible, because maybe it is possible, but it's unlikely. It's better just to say, that it's not gonna, I maybe you can say, we will revisit salary once a year, but because I'm a new business, I can't guarantee that there will be increases every single year like other businesses, because I honestly don't know. Just setting that honest expectation right up front so that they have that in their head and they don't feel like you're essentially lying to them or sugarcoating the situation from the beginning. That can create a better relationship of trust that will have that strong foundation that you're building on. It's also, I think, so important, not only in the interview, but then also following up in any team meetings and reviews, to state your core values. So at Full Sail, for example, we talk about supporting the student. It's so important to support the student. And we look at but when we're talking about supporting the student, we look at that as doing what's in their best interest. Doing what's in the best interest of the student is not always what the student wants. It is what is best for them. So I reinforce that as much as I can. And my previous boss used to reinforce it. And I felt like it was so helpful to have that very clear mission statement and kind of almost like a due north, the star that I could follow. When I was making a decision, I would think, okay, what's in the best interest of the student? It's such an easy and simplified way to look at every single challenge. And so sometimes that meant, okay, the student really they need to take this class again because they didn't learn what they needed to learn. And if we allow them to just move forward, we're setting them up for failure. They're not going to do well in their next classes, and they certainly won't do well after they graduate. So that the best interest of the student in that situation maybe won't be what the student wants to hear, but it is what is best for them. And so again, looking at your mission statement that you write for your business and then drilling it down to just kind of like a tagline that you can repeat as often as possible during the interview process, during team meetings, during reviews, just anytime you're talking about your company, it will really help, again, create the culture and a clear structure for anyone who's part of the business to follow. The more they hear it, the more it will become a natural thought that they think of all by themselves, even when you're not the one telling them or in the room. So it'll help them start making decisions as you would want them to, and it will empower them to fulfill the mission of your company in the way that you would want them to. I mentioned this already regarding engaging your employees, but that, you know, being transparent and owning your mistakes, and giving a healthy amount of information is always really good. In academia in particular, I would say, you know, these professors that I have the pleasure of leading are incredibly intelligent and thoughtful people. They can handle hard information. I don't need to keep secrets from them. Obviously, if there's confidential information in the business that I'm not allowed to share publicly yet, I can, you know, that is one thing. But I want to make sure that I treat my people like they are adults. And a lot of times sharing the reason behind a policy can actually really help the team then get behind that policy. If I just say, do this because I said so, all sorts of ideas and thoughts are going to start running through everyone's mind based on their lens that they're looking at the situation through. And they may not buy into what I'm asking them to do. But if I can explain the background, it really actually helps the buy-in, and it helps them find, okay, well, this is why this is happening. So here's how I'm going to justify it, or here's how I'm going to approach it from my lens so that it makes sense to me, so that I can support this initiative. So I think it's just very important to remember that you can share information with your people. And in fact, it can actually really help them trust you, know that you're trusting them with that information. And then again, be empowered to make decisions when you're not in the room that are in line with your business. I already mentioned, you know, checking in with them on a regular basis, maybe team meetings or one-on-ones, having annual reviews. Annual reviews, I do mine once a year, but I also have check-ins where I am meeting with people one-on-one outside of an annual review. And the reason that I find that to be really helpful is that annual reviews can have a really scary connotation to some people. They can go into an annual review very nervous that maybe they had a job in the past where they would go to an annual review and they'd get in trouble, or they would find out bad news, like you're not getting a raise, or you're getting fired, things like that. So to take that off the table and to help them come into a meeting with you with, you know, an open mind that's ready to receive information, meeting with them where they're not being judged or assessed for performance can actually open the lines of communication and put them at ease. So that's why I think it is very important to do one-on-one meetings with people that aren't completely tied to performance and assessment. So I highly recommend that you work those in. Of course, you're going to be very busy. You're going to wear a lot of hats in your new businesses, and it's not always possible to meet with people all of the time, but at least meet with them once, you know, make a goal of doing it at least once outside of the regular annual review, so that you have that opportunity to connect on a human level and talk in a way that is not overshadowed by the annual review, you know, mentality. Okay. And I also, I can't recommend enough doing team builders. So potlucks are really great because it allows people to share, you know, things that are important to them, their favorite food, or I know with COVID that can be a little harder. You could also do even just luncheons, where, you know, everybody has an individual lunch that they bring, but allowing people to kind of break bread and talk to each other in kind of a calmer situation. It allows them to connect and build trust with each other and friendships, and just talk about things that aren't related to work. Going on a bowling, you know, a company bowling excursion, or even doing, you know, signing up for a 5K together where, you know, you're all going to walk at the same time and, you know, raise money for something that you all support. There's a lot of different ways that you can build that team atmosphere and that camaraderie. And I know in COVID times, it kind of became difficult and almost forgotten. And I think it's so important to really lean into that and continue the tradition of team building, because that is where your culture forms. The more time you spend with people, the more memories you have with them, and the more connected you are to them. And as I said earlier, people don't leave bad jobs, they leave bad leaders or bad coworkers even. If they feel a strong connection to the people they're working with, they're going to want to stay. And if they want to stay, they want to enjoy their job. So then they're going to start problem solving if they're not happy with what they're doing. Okay, how can I make this better? And that could end up causing, improvements for you as the business owner. So there are just, there's a trickle effect to that engagement that goes so far beyond what people realize. And I think it's a really important part of being a strong leader and having a successful company. So just a little review, important to know yourself before you open up your business and before you start hiring people, because you are the foundation of this business and you have to understand where you're coming from to be better able to speak to your team and even to your customers. When you're hiring and when you are leading your team, remember that you are helping them be their best self. And we talked about all the different ways that you can, hopefully do that. The culture starts with you as the leader. You have to create that culture by creating that tagline and then also setting a framework in place where people are going to connect with each other, with you, and even with the rest of the team. And then listen. I talked about communication. Listening is the first part. We have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. Make sure that you're hearing your people. And last thing I will say is listen with the intent to understand rather than to react. So when you're receiving information from somebody, keep in mind that sometimes they don't want you to fix a problem. They just want to be heard. So just be there to understand where they're coming from. First, understand. And then once you understand, you'll know, okay, does this person want me to act? Do they want me to just say, I'm so sorry? What is it that they're looking for? Understanding. Okay. And that is all I have. Does anyone have any questions or thoughts they want to share?
All right. Thank you, Victoria. Yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat. And what I'll do is we'll go ahead and I'll run through my little spiel on the competition and that kind of thing. And then we'll come back and look at the chat and see if there's any questions. So preparing to compete. If you haven't already heard this, it's fairly simple if you're interested and dedicated. We'd like you to submit the entry form and the payment, participate in these free webcasts. And again, these are 4 webinars that have been recorded and are going to be available on the NAWBO website. Prepare your materials. This will include your introductory video, your executive summary, your preliminary pitch deck. And for those of you that are entering on the established category, make sure that you provide financial statements in your EIN. The instructions and a link to upload all the documents are going to be provided to you in your confirmation email. All materials must be uploaded by midnight, February 24, 2023. This is a hard deadline, so make sure that it's on your calendar and you're ready to go in advance. After all the submissions are received, we're going to have judges review the submissions and schedule interviews. The finalists are going to be announced on March 9th, and then the actual pitch competition happens at the Take Flight Business Conference on March 30th, 2023 at the Full Sail Fortress. Let's take a look here. I don't see any questions. Oh, the webinar topics that we've already had are focus on viability, focus on financial, focus on marketing strategies. And of course, today, Victoria talked to us about leadership. All of these are going to be accessible via Zoom. So if you can't make it, they are available. Make sure you visit nawboorlando.org and look at their contest rules. And with that, Victoria, I really want to thank you for making yourself available. I was taking notes as you were going because you had so many great nuggets of wisdom to share with us, and I really appreciate that. It's hard to be a leader, but without a doubt, you have to be a strong leader if you want your business to succeed. You have to be able to, like you said, not just know yourself, but also know your employees and your end goal. So lots of really great information I took down. I want to thank Full Sail University, of course, for sponsoring these webinars. We want to thank NABO Orlando and NABO National for being supportive of entrepreneurial women, having these events where women are invited to come and shine and show what they can do. And so with that, thank you so much, everyone. Have a great rest of the week. Take care.
Thank you for having me. Good luck to everybody. Bye-bye.